Yeah, all of this started for me, as you probably know, in 1960. That's when I took my first red pill. And it had to do with the United Nations, because I was a real pro UN guy. As you would expect, I came out of the school system, and I'd been taught that the UN was our last best hope for peace, going to be brotherhood and peace and prosperity, end of war and discrimination and all of these things. And boy, I bought into it hook, line, and sinker. And then I discovered, quite by accident, at no point going into that story, but I did discover that that was a that was an illusion. That was a marketing program for something that we now see unfolding. It's world government. And when I discovered that the people who were already in the United Nations and promoting it in positions of power back in that day, already they were, I, their their prison records made it clear that this was the scum of the earth. These were the tin horn dictators. These were killers. These were maniacs, and they had killed their way and or purchased their way to the heads of governments around the world. And there, it was the worst level of society. And these were the people that were paying uh, publicity firms to present the image of peace and prosperity and brotherhood and fairness, equality. But when I saw the disconnect between the personal character of the people involved and the propaganda, I knew something was very wrong. And
Mm.
that was my first red pill. Okay. Since then, I've taken a lot more red pills. I've discovered, as many people have along the way, that almost every really important thing in my life was at one time based on an illusion like that. What I thought was true turned out to be not only not true, but usually the opposite of the truth. And it's become a very discouraging path to travel, but it's a rewarding path because at the end of it, you see life the way it really is. And when you can see what it really is, in spite of the evil that's creeping around us, if you can look past that and see what humanity really is, it's a beautiful world. If we could clean it up and just get rid of all of the lies and the deceit and the corruption and the megalomania and the psychopathy. Most humans, I'm going to guess probably 85%, are really good-hearted people. They don't want to steal anything. They don't want your stuff. They don't want to hurt you. They want to tell the truth. They really care about you. They would help you if you needed. Even a stranger would come up and help you if they saw you that you were in need. And those of us who, I like to think of myself in that category, but those of us who think that way and act that way, it's hard for us to imagine that there is, in my view, about 15% of the population that are predators. And they don't give a darn about you and me except to take what we've got and to enslave us, put us into their service in some way. And they've learned that the best way to do that is to lie to us and to give us these false narratives and tell us that all of these things that we don't want to happen are being done for our own good. And they hate to do it, but they hate to take away our liberty. But we have terrorism.
Mm.
Or they take our liberty and increase our taxes. That's bad. But we do have the destruction of the environment.
Mm.
And they hate to take away our liberty and limit our freedom of speech. We hate to do it, but we do have this thing called COVID. And all
Mm.
of these things are offered as an excuse to do the bad things to us. And we're told that it's necessary for the greater good of the greater number. And so we buy into that until up to a point where the first crack in the egg is the hardest one. But after that, you begin to realize that this is a pattern on this planet. So
Mm.
now you ask me my journey. My journey really was all about learning what I just told you.
Mm.
It's a hard lesson because you don't want to hear that. You don't want to believe it. Your fantasies are so sweet and clean and pure. But once you get over that and realize, what life is really like, you realize that we're put here for a reason, many of us realize that. I feel that our reason for being here is to right that wrong, to help our fellow human beings realize that they are being preyed upon, they're being lied to, they're being deceived, they're being enslaved. And it's more than just, well, how do I get out of it? How do I survive? All of a sudden, especially when you reach my age, you begin to think, well, what about the kids and the grandkids and the future generations? And what about the rest of mankind too? It's easy to be selfish when you're really young because that's all about you, me, man, I'm looking good. I got to be, get all the material things. But as you get older and when you have children and you have family and friends, you begin to think about the community and your friends, your family, and then the world at large. And then you look up at the stars some night, you say, why am I here? Well, I'm part of all this. What could that possibly be? And then you're stuck because now you start thinking about, things outside of yourself. And so my journey has been pretty much what I just described to you. We could take years to describe all the little details and little tiny baby steps along the way. But that's my journey. And I realize that I'm here for a reason, and I kind of like that idea.
Amen. Well, that's a great positive attitude. And it seems like even back then, we're going to get into that in a little bit, but you always seem to have a calm demeanor. I like to think I'm similar, not exactly the same, but people always say, how do you stay so calm? Life is crazy. That's all you could do something about it or you can't. But even when you were warning people decades ago, you always had that calm demeanor. And maybe that has led to you being a very healthy guy, keeping calm, but also staying positive amidst it. So that's the journey. You saw the UN decades ago. They're telling people they're doing all these great things, but they're consolidating power. In your lifetime, is this the craziest power grab? Was it incremental? And this is just like they went for the gusto in the last couple of years, or have there been similar times like this?
I honestly believe this is it. I think they're going for the gusto, as you say. They know that people are waking up. And of course, the closer you get to the finish line, the more you can see what's at the finish line, and we can see it's not like looking across the sea. We're looking like across the street. I mean, the military trucks and cars and troops are at our door now. It's not something we've heard about over in another country. They're here. They're arresting people for wanting to go out and buy a loaf of bread without putting a face diaper on. It's here. And so, it's here. And I think they're making a mad dash for it because now that we're so close, so many people are able to see it. It doesn't take much imagination. You don't have to read a lot of books. You can just look out your window or try to go downtown and you can see it. So I think I put myself on the other side. If I were the evil genius or part of that group that's making all the decisions to do these things, I would probably have said about a year ago or a couple of years ago, said, okay, let's put a date on this that we think is realistic. Let's try Agenda 2030, for example, which is, of course, the report put out by the United Nations, Agenda 2030. And they named the date. They put a date on it. They figured that by that time, that was their goal, to wrap this all up and put a big bow on it, and there would be no escape, and everybody would be, as Klaus Schwab says, everybody would be happy.
I have a question about that because I've heard the name Agenda 2030. The media will say that's a conspiracy theory made up by people on the internet. Is that an actual published document, are you saying? Or?
Oh, yeah. That's just funny. This media, I don't know why people still listen to the media. Everything they know from experience they've heard on the media turned out to be wrong, but they still say, oh, listen, I heard that on NBC.
Where is it published?
It's published by the United Nations. You could probably, I think, last time I looked, you could go to the UN bookstore and order it.
Okay.
I've seen copies of it. Everybody's got a copy of it. I don't know why they say it's a conspiracy theory. It's in print.
That's another thing they do like that is there's a book by Klaus Schwab called COVID-19, The Great Reset. I actually bought it. And I heard so many times, well, the Great Reset, I'm like, it's literally a book. And if you buy the book, you can read what he thinks about the world. And they're trying to convince you that you're not allowed to disagree with his worldview. But, of course, that's goofy. There's all sorts of thoughts out there. So yeah, it seems like they like to talk about published things as if they're, a fairy tale sometimes.
Well, it depends on who's publishing it, Now, if it was Das Kapital or the Communist Manifesto or Mein Kampf, they'd say, well, you better read that and believe it and stick with it, So it just depends on who's writing the book.
Speaking of having like foresight, I thought it would be cool because this is one of my favorite videos of yours. Do you know what year this is from?
Oh, that looks to me like More Deadly Than War. Is that it?
It's when you talk about the communists and
that would
the racial division and color communism, common sense.
Yeah, that would be 1969, I believe.
Wow. We're going to play the clip and then I just want to get your reaction to it because it's gone viral recently.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah. What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Dream Rare Podcast, hosted by me, Anomaly.